Should I take this pill that will make me smarter? For thousands of years, human beings have tried to improve themselves. They've done sit-ups, they've studied, they've practiced Taylor Swift songs in the mirror. The reward has been a bigger brain, six-pack abs and second place on The Voice. But imagine if a pill could make this easier for you. You take one of these, you can work 20 hours. You inject steroids and you get bigger muscles. Where is the line? How different is it to something like caffeine? Well, that is the question we're asking tonight. My name is Mark Fennell, and this is The Feed Forum. Tonight, the people who have actually done it, taken a pill that can make you smarter.
I'm never fatigued. I have much more motivation, energy. I never procrastinate.
Has it had an impact on your work?
Yes, I've been promoted twice since I've had it.
Plus, could using drugs for non-prescribed purposes actually be okay?
Medicine has a long history of people trying stuff on themselves that they wouldn't experiment with on anybody else, and we've made great discoveries.
And that guy's in a suit, so he knows things. And is this fundamentally changing what it means to be human?
The problem is that there's no point to end until a person drops dead.
And it is very big welcome to our panel, Daniel Kilov, Jason Mazanoff and Nicole Vincent. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
All right, well, we do have somebody in the audience who actually is using these drugs for the purposes of becoming smart. Where's Erin? Hey, Erin, how are you?
Good.
Tell me, what exactly is it that you're taking at the moment?
Dexamphetamine.
What is dexamphetamine?
It's a stimulant, a cognitive enhancer, a performance enhancer, and it's prescription only.
What is it they normally prescribe it for?
ADHD and narcolepsy, I believe.
Do you have either of those?
No. I have a diagnosis for ADHD.
Okay. How did you go about getting a diagnosis for ADHD if you don't have ADHD?
I researched all the symptoms that I'd need to have to be diagnosed ADHD, and then I got a referral from my GP to a psychiatrist. I didn't suggest it. I just started listing off the symptoms that I had, and he diagnosed me ADHD and prescribed me dexamphetamine from there.
So you tricked your psychiatrist?
Yes.
So when you're taking these drugs, what exactly does it feel like? How do you use them?
I've been taking them for a little over a year, and it's made a remarkable difference. I'm never fatigued. I have much more motivation, energy. I never procrastinate. I'm more responsible in a way, and I can multitask in terms of I have a really busy job, and I can go home and do all those normal things at the end of the day with a short amount of downtime in between without sacrificing other aspects of my life.
Now, Nicole, you are a professor of philosophy, of law and of neuroscience, so you're an underachiever, obviously, but you actually took performance-enhancing drugs, modafinil, for your brain.
I did, indeed.
Why?
To get more time with my partner, to make sure when I travelled abroad between Australia and the Netherlands that I would get enough time to spend with her.
Did it work?
It helped me to make sure that I stayed awake. But then what it did is it gave me so much energy that I simply kept taking on more projects. So I didn't actually get to have more time with my partner.
Right. I don't want to be a narc here or anything, but modafinil is a drug that's prescribed for people with narcolepsy, right?
Yes, that's right.
How did you get a hold of it?
Off the interwebs via a friend. So a friend said, "Hey, Nicole, would you like to try this?"
And so when you did try it, what was the thing that surprised you most about it?
No downtime. So the no downtime was the stuff that really worked for me. The stuff that didn't particularly work for me is that when I had the no downtime, I simply kept taking on more projects.
So it didn't necessarily engender a complete personality shift?
No, I'm pretty sure that the reason why the relationship broke up is not because of the personality shift, but rather because of the fact that my natural tendencies to work were, well, they were amplified.
All right, there's been a lot of headlines around performance-enhancing drugs, but not an enormous amount of research. Now, the one person that has done research in this area is you, Jason Mazanoff.
It all started for me looking at my work on drugs in sport, and I wondered about, well, if it's happening in sport, where else is it happening in Australian society? Now, being a university lecturer, I kind of wonder if it was happening at universities. Now, people say, oh, it must be the hard drugs. It's actually supplements. So many Australian university students are actually turning to multivitamins or omega-3 to try and enhance their performance. And then it sort of drifts down in numbers towards caffeine. It's a big one. Can't have a degree without caffeine. And then we finally get into the important drugs that we like to talk about that are quite sexy. We start talking about methylphenidate, otherwise known as Ritalin. We talk about the other kinds of amphetamines. And we talk about these prescription substances that people are getting their hands on to try and enhance their academic performance.
What don't we know that we should know in terms of what hasn't been researched yet?
We don't know an awful lot about how these drugs work with normal, healthy people. We don't really know what happens when you give an ADHD drug to someone who doesn't have ADHD and what the health implications of that might be.
Erin, how do you go about using it? Do you wake up in the morning and pop 3 pills? Like, what's the process you go through?
I take a long-acting form of dexamphetamine as well, so I actually have an alarm set for about an hour before I wake up, where I take that and go straight back to sleep, and then when my alarm goes off, it's bang up time, go time for the day, and I pretty much go for 16 hours without stopping, efficiently and productively. I'm a far more productive person now that I do take it.
Has it had an impact on your work?
Yes, I've been promoted twice since I've had it.
Wow.
I've gotten 2 significant pay rises as a result of those promotions. I'm recognised at work for my general enthusiasm and motivation and boundless energy.
All right, well, also in the audience, we have Neil. Where's Neil? Okay, Neil, you're a psychiatrist. I'm wondering what's going through your head as you're hearing Erin describe what she does.
Well, there's not a cognitive enhancer that's been mentioned so far that I don't prescribe, and I actually prescribe many more of these. And I usually prescribe these for patients with dementia, patients with schizophrenia who have cognitive problems, ADHD, and so on. But one of the problems that we always face is we have to take the patient's word by faith. But I have to be on guard all the time because I'm aware that these agents are very popular. There's a high amount of potential for abuse. I've had many professors telling me, like yourself, that they've taken modafinil, particularly in the States. It's a very common issue. And I've had a lot of patients tell me that they've had ADHD medications and found fantastic benefits without ADHD.
As you're hearing that, Erin, does that change or shift your opinion about taking the drugs that you're taking?
No, it's one of the only ethical implications I have with it, in that it is deceitful and manipulative to get a diagnosis for something that I don't have and seek out to do so. And the applications he was talking about it having are to give people that have a disadvantage, like ADHD or narcolepsy or dementia, to bring them up to an even playing field, whereas we have the ability to heighten our aptitude and ability, and we don't do that.
Neil, are you going to trust any of your patients after hearing this?
I'm a psychiatrist. I mean, I understand, but the thing is, though, even with everything I do actually understand your point of view. I'm not there for transhumanism. I'm not there in order to create another person.
All right, well, when we come back, we're going to have a closer look inside Erin's brain. What are the side effects and what's really going on with her chemistry? This is the Feed Forum. Welcome back. This is the Feed Forum here on SBS. Make sure you tweet along. The hashtag is #TheFeedSBS. And tonight we are asking the question, if there was a pill that made you smarter, would you take it? And in fact, here in the audience, we do have somebody who is doing exactly that. Erin, just remind us again for people that have just joined us through the break, exactly what pills are you taking at the moment?
Dexamphetamine and Vyvanse, which is a prodrug of dexamphetamine. It's a long-acting version.
OK, Neil, you're a psychiatrist. Tell me, what exactly chemically is going on when Erin takes those pills?
Inside the stimulant range of medications, from caffeine through to modafinil and to the dexamphetamines and methylphenidate, what they're basically doing is that they're boosting the transmission of many of the excitatory neurotransmitters. So serotonin levels increase, noradrenaline levels increase, dopamine levels increase. Together with that, there's also a generalized sympathetic drive, which means that your autonomic nervous system, the one that sits in the background that runs everything inside your body, that is put into a fight or flight sort of response, which means that your body is basically continuously on edge. So there's increased concentration, there's increased activity, there's increased heart rate, there's reduced gastrointestinal function because you don't need to be digesting when you're running away. My biggest problem is we don't know what these drugs will do in the long term in adult patients, let alone in younger people.
Nicole, when you were on the smart drugs you were on, for lack of a better term, did you notice side effects?
I noticed side effects when I tried to take the medication when I wasn't feeling jet-lagged, and I would get jittery, extremely jittery. Not very helpful if you're trying to either...
I was going to say, the whole point of this was to be confident and give speeches around the world.
Yeah, that's right. So it wasn't... But note that the side effects kicked in only on those occasions when I took them, when I was already largely feeling at my peak, right? So if you take the medications on those occasions, then what happens is that they throw you a little bit over into the mania range.
At some point, did the drugs make you become a maniac? This is a safe space you can share with us.
I don't think they made me any more into a maniac than I already was, as in terms of being a workomaniac.
Fair enough. How about you, Erin? In terms of side effects, have you noticed anything?
Insomnia, but that's manageable. You just have to not take meds too late. A lack of appetite, which means if you're not responsible, you can get to the afternoon and start getting a headache because you realise you haven't eaten. An increased thirst, which can easily lead to dehydration, but all of those are manageable. I haven't had any of the side effects like increased heart rate, mania, to the best of my knowledge.
No mania for you. Are you concerned about the long-term effects of this, 5, 10 years down the track?
I am, so I don't abuse it, and I am very responsible in what I eat and drink when I'm on it.
All right, I want to bring in Daniel Kilov here now. Daniel, you are a memory champion, and I've never met one of you people before, but you sound fascinating. You're also working your way towards a PhD, and when you were 12 years old, it was a very different story. You were kind of in your own words, you were a crap student, and you were also on ADD medication at the time, and you hated it, didn't you?
I did, yes. Yeah.
Why did you hate it? What was it about it?
School was not a particularly fun place, and I would daydream, I would imagine things. And in their wisdom at the time, my teachers and psychiatrists decided that I had attention deficit disorder because I wasn't paying attention to what they wanted me to pay attention to.
So what was it that you took? How long did you take it for?
So I took Ritalin. I took it for 2 to 3 years, and eventually, I suppose at my request, my parents decided that enough was enough.
Is that because you noticed side effects that you didn't like?
Yeah, so certainly there's this incredible narrowing of focus that prevented me from escaping into my head. I really felt like the kind of colour had been drained from my world, which is not a good place for a kid to be.
No. But the interesting thing about you is that later in life as an adult, you tried them again and had a very different experience. Yeah,
that's true. I was kind of curious to see how they'd sort of stack up to the abilities that I'd cultivated through my memory training and so on. And yeah, this time around was much more positive.
And so when you're hearing Erin's story, what goes through your head?
So I'm fine with that, right? We all have our particular goals and our passions and so on. And I think any substance that enables people to pursue those, to do better at those, is a good thing.
Erin, it's fair to say you're not telling that many people about it until now. And is that because of the stigma attached to it?
Yes, and also because it's made such a big difference in my life that I obviously do not want my psychiatrist to find out, because that would completely end things there.
Jason, do you think Australians are open-minded to the concept of cognitive enhancement?
Australians have this real affinity for naturalness. We don't like to see people using a technology or a drug to try and make themselves better. We have such narrow definitions of what is acceptable and what is right that sometimes we're not willing to experiment, to learn about new things.
All right, well, on the topic of people that use drugs in sport to great effect, we actually went to go meet an ex-Mr Universe named Lee Priest.
Hi, my name's Lee Priest. I'm a professional bodybuilder. Won my first 3 contests when I was 13 years old and got second in the universe when I was 17. And in 2013, I went back and won the overall Mr Universe. In the beginning, I didn't even want to be a professional bodybuilder. I just wanted to look like He-Man. I was using the performance-enhancing drugs. You just like every day, you sort of just feel fresh and fresh, so your body can just keep going and going. That's why a lot of guys use them, just to recover quicker. We're all against it, but yet it's almost like to be on a level playing field, you have to go that way. So at 19, I first took them, yeah. When I got to the pro ranks, sadly, you pretty much have to go that way in all sports. But yet, there's a lot of guys that take them, they don't even look like they go to the gym because you've got the genetics, you've got the mind power, you've got the heart involved. Talking about the top athletes in all sports, you're talking about the top 1% of people. And instead of taking the drugs out, they're still going to be the best. Lance Armstrong, take the drugs off him and everyone else, he'd still be a champion. When I was using them back competing, I always used small amounts because that's what I found I got good results from, and the most of testosterone I would take would be 400 milligrams. There were young kids over there taking 5,000. I'm just like, you guys are crazy. People think, more is better if one's good, two's twice as good. It doesn't work that way. If you've got to take them, you've got to do it smart. Been around professional athletes in swimming, tennis, golf. Like I said, these are sports I've known people are taking them. You just got to really accept they're never going to get drugs out of the sport, whether it be performance enhancing or the mind enhancing. But the best way is, like, we're adults. We know what we're doing with our body. We're not hurting anybody else. So if you're going to do it, somehow legalise it, but yet make it where you do go to a doctor and get it. That way it's done safe. You're getting the proper amounts. The doctor can monitor you. Whereas now, sadly, people go get on the black market. You don't know where it's made. Half the stuff's bad. It's just going to lead to abuse.
Erin, do you see some comparison between what Lee does and what you do?
One has such a very narrow and almost kind of selfish application to it. It just makes you a better athlete. It improves your personal self, whereas I'm a better citizen because I'm a better taxpayer, because I can work so much more. I'm a better friend, I'm a better partner because I take the stress off my partner because I can do 100% of the housework on top of having such a stressful job.
Daniel, you are a competitor of the mind. Would you consider it to be unethical to use smart drugs in your campaign as memory champion?
So provided they were safe, provided that we could somehow wave a wand and remove a lot of other issues like equality of access and so on, I wouldn't have a problem with it.
All right, I want to bring Matthew Dunn in here. Matthew Dunn, you're from Deakin University. Do you think there's a similarity between what Erin and Nicole did and what Lee does?
I think there is, and I think the idea that getting bigger muscles is only for a personal gain is... If you spoke to people that use steroids, they would completely disagree with that. By working out properly, by eating properly, by getting enough sleep, you can get those gains, and steroids they see it as just that little bit extra. And they see that the bodybuilding community sees themselves as very committed people, they're very dedicated to what they do, and what they do, they believe is healthy.
Does that argument resonate for you, Jason, that it's healthy?
Look, my position is that the use of any drug within its known safety limits, that's why we have these safety limits. Clinical trials says, this is how it's to be used. When we use it for off-label use, so things that it wasn't initially tested for, that could be experimentation. Medicine has a long history of people trying stuff on themselves that they wouldn't experiment with on anybody else, and we've made great discoveries.
All right, when we come back, should everyone just be using these drugs? Find it after the break. This is the Feed Forum. Welcome back. This is the Feed Forum, and all tonight we have been debating if there was a pill that would make you smarter, would you use it? Make sure you join in the conversation on Twitter. The hashtag is #TheFeedSBS. Daniel Kilov, should we all just be on these drugs?
So at the moment, given our current smart drugs, I think you can probably get more consistent and better results from things like proper sleep, good nutrition, regular cardiovascular exercise, and the kind of memory training that I do. But if we had these technologies, if they didn't have bad side effects, then yes, absolutely. I think that they should be available to people.
Okay. Nicole, are smart drugs the key to progressing us as a human race?
Now, one of the lovely things that I discovered as a consequence partly of ceasing to be quite as much of a workaholic as I used to be is that, hey, there are friends that I can go and spend time with. And my worry here is that the way in which people talk about cognitive enhancement use is it makes it sound like there is only one way to be a really good person, namely to be productive out there. Go to work, make sure you earn the money, keep people alive.
I have to disagree. I have all kinds of students who come to me for memory training, essentially looking to enhance their cognition. But they have a very wide variety of goals. It's true that some want to do better at work. Others want to be able to take on new challenges like learning a language.
Matthew, do you think there's something dangerous about a world that places so much emphasis on working harder and productivity?
Yes, and we've seen that if we use the parallel argument about body image, why guys use steroids, why women have used amphetamines to lose weight. We've placed so much pressure on looking good, and we now see people that have got real problems from that. So in terms of work, yeah, I see students that are so stressed in their first couple of weeks of university because they're worrying about getting a job and moving up in the ranks, earning money, having that prestige.
Erin, it's obviously worked really well for you personally, but do you think if you took a step back and you looked at the wider kind of angle of society, do you think there would be a problem with us putting too much focus on productivity?
I know that it's increased every kind of area of my life. It's just that work is the one that is easiest to show the results of. It's increased my social life, it's increased my personal image, it's increased everything.
Would you be less of a person if you had to stop the drug?
Yes, yes. Both in the short term of it, just from the physical side effects of weaning off it, and there's no way I could do as much as I do, take on as much as I do, without cognitive enhancers.
Are you okay with that? Because the traditional Qashqai of somebody who's a drug addict is I can quit every time, and you just said that you can't.
I could not take it. I think I definitely have the self-control to not abuse it, so I have the self-control to not take it. I just don't want to. It makes me better at everything.
What's your reaction to that, Neil?
The problem is that you'll run into the same sort of argument that is relevant to here, that eventually it becomes no longer a battle between man and his limits, but between physiology and the drugs, in terms of how much drugs you can pump into a person until their livers fail or until their heart systems fail. That's going to be the new limiting level. The problem is that there's no point to end until a person drops dead. That's the only logical point to keep going to. Everything before that is you haven't got to your limit.
Jason, you were shaking your head so hard there, I thought you were about to lose your head entirely. Why is that?
I think this idea that somehow we're lesser as people if we use these drugs and so on, this is actually a new technology, and until we learn how to use this technology properly, we're going to run into these demonising, stigmatising. It's Chicken Little. Everyone's running around crazily saying it's bad, it's bad, it's bad. No, let's learn how to use this new technology.
Nicole, you were shaking your head then.
By taking particular medications, I set up a certain precedent for what people can expect of me, what I can expect of me, right? What sort of performance can I expect of me now? And that sort of psychological dependence, the fact that people come to, expect you to do certain things. Those are the sorts of worries that I have, such that even if the medical concerns get wiped out, it's the social impact that it's going to have, both in terms of how it affects others and the society in which we live, but also how it affects your own expectations and whether you still do think that actually I can pull back.
I guess the difference is that we need to perhaps take the leaf out of sports physicians and the ethics of sports medicine, which says that it's no longer just about medicating people to overcome pathogens. It's also about human enhancement. How can we get our biology to interact with this new technology that we can find to make the human condition better? If we can enhance mood, if we can eliminate depression and anxiety, are these good things?
These are not flaws to be wiped out. Some of them are flaws, right? Some of my flaws are things for which people seem to love me, apparently, which is a nice thing because I have lots of them. My main worry is that, yes, let's embrace new technologies, let's study them, but let's not get too romantic about the fact that every bit of enhancement, every bit of betterness is going to generate the enhancement of life, right?
All right, we come down to the final question. I have the pill. In one sentence each, should I take the pill? Daniel?
Yes, provided that it's safe. If you have particular goals, things that you want to achieve, if you feel like it would enhance your life, then I think that's something that you should be able to do.
Jason?
Only with appropriate medical supervision.
Nicole?
What both of them said.
Okay. Aaron?
Yes, absolutely yes.
Neil?
Find another consult.
All right, should we be able to take pills that make us smarter? What do you think? Let us know on Twitter. The hashtag is #TheFeedSBS. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our show. Very big thank you to all of our panel. Good night.